Hello and welcome to our Conflict Stories series from an SME. You're here with me, Annika Bozenkek from CYME. I've been CEO of my packaging companies for nearly 25 years and mentored many individuals and businesses. We are here today to share stories rather than give advice, sharing anecdotes of how to mitigate risk of conflict. We would encourage all listeners to seek legal support to run their organisation. So, firstly, what is an SME? Well, in the UK, an SME accounts for around 1.5 million businesses employing 16 million people, which represents 60% of the UK private workforce. And 13 million of us are employed by the term small business, those with up to 49 employees. An organisation is an SME if it has fewer than 250 employees and either a turnover of up to £44 million or a balance sheet total of up to £38 million. As you may already be aware, running a small business, it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, anyone who's done it knows there are days we just grit our teeth and have a really, really strong cup of tea. Sometimes something a bit stronger. The profile of this leader means they have to be gutsy, that's true. But some people often don't appreciate that guts aren't what see you through when, let's say, things go a bit sideways. Whilst the likeable personality is an essential ingredient when trying to broker a negotiation, with empathy, see both sides, focus on interest and needs, be non-judgmental, be self-aware, avoid implicit or unconscious bias, etc., the backstop is the paperwork. That is the statement of fact when the chips are down. A sale starts out with the best intentions, right? Rose-tinted glasses, handshake deals, everyone's on the same page. Or so you think. But as soon as there's pressure, memory gets a bit hazy and goodwill evaporates faster than you can say to me, wasn't that your responsibility? It's why, what's the old expression, verbal agreements aren't worth the paper they're not written on. That's a terrible analogy, but you get my drift. People say, oh, we don't need a contract, we trust each other. Listen, it's the opposite. Writing things down is how trust is formalised. An agreement is basically saying, we both get this, we're both on board, and if things change, we both understand what happens next. In the UK, sure, there is some backup from the law, implied terms, right? Goods must be fit for purpose, services with reasonable care. But let's be real, those are minimum standards, not exactly a full safety net. What a handshake absolutely doesn't cover is like when to get cleared payment, or what happens if deliveries are running late, or when a credit, discount or refund is triggered. So when conflict hits, and it will at some point, the court's looking for written evidence. If this document is not to hand, reasonable starts to look suspiciously like whatever works for the other party. Not ideal. So, in terms of documentation, what kinds are there? Terms and conditions for starters. They're the rule book, the who, what, when, how of the entire transaction. Payments, deliveries, refunds, liability, how disputes will be managed. But, this is crucial, the timing matters. The terms have got to be shared before the deal gets sealed, not tacked on to the back of an invoice. That's a rookie mistake, and by then it's too late. Then there are client purchase orders and supplier order confirmations. That's the nitty-gritty. The quantity, price, when things arrive. Sometimes it's as simple as a quick email nailing down that yes, this is what we agreed. Sounds trivial until months later someone swears blind they were promised them something completely different. And let's not forget quotes and estimates. When supplying a quote, it's a fixed price likely subject to terms, so make these clear. And get it accepted in writing for future referral. Set an expiry date. Spell out what's covered and what's absolutely not. This is especially relevant for goods and services crossing borders where goods insurance and import duty terms are vital to be understood and recorded on export documentation. For ongoing work, like supplying to a restaurant every month or running a website, provide a service agreement. That's the safety net. A document to outline fees, what happens if someone bails on full payment, and so on. Oh, and invoices? Don't overlook them. They're more than just admin. Under UK law, interest can be charged on overdue invoices, but only if terms are spelled out up front. Now, this is where it gets a bit, shall we say, spicy. The battle of the forms. You send your T's and C's, then they send theirs, and everyone assumes it's their version that'll count. Actually, whoever gets the last word in often wins under UK law. So you need to say very clearly, I accept only on my terms, and get that back in writing. And if a business is creative, design, consultancy, that sort of thing, lock down your intellectual property and confidentiality. Spell out who owns what once the work's done. That includes employees who invent something during their working day and employment. Otherwise, a photo taken by a subcontracted photographer may have limitations on where it can be used and for how long, which will create problems down the line. And consider an NDA before sharing a brief. It may be very tricky and costly to defend in court, but it shows intention that what is being shared is sensitive information. And how about writing down organisation processes? Quality control, supply chain flow, onboarding new staff and volunteers, complaints procedure, that kind of thing. The rulebook of what makes a particular organisation unique, if you like. Also, policy statements and documentation, such as how whistleblowing is managed, employee contract and handbooks, ethical and social responsibility statements, health and safety at work posters. Certain certification bodies may like to see additional documents, such as signing up to the UN sustainability goals and which of the goals an organisation explicitly supports. There are many more types of legal and sector-relevant documentation, and as we always say, CYME cannot give advice, but we can certainly share stories from others as to why documents matter within the realm of conflict mitigation. Even with all this, sometimes things do go pear-shaped. Clients delay, suppliers miss deadlines, invoices get questioned, we all know the drill. The first move? Not a solicitor's letter, but documentation. Take a breath, check the contract, find the relevant clause, and see if there's a built-in fix. It's often the case that so many disputes fizzle down when the facts are there, black and white. It's so much easier to discuss. Look at clause 7, that's the time frame we agreed, instead of guessing what might have been said over coffee. But sometimes, let's be honest, it's not enough. That's where mediation comes in. And look, mediation is massively underused. It's fast, confidential, voluntary, designed to solve things, not destroy the relationship in the process. Someone neutral helps everyone talk. No judge, no drama, no opinion. Each party stays in control, often in separate rooms. No one imposes anything, and it's all without prejudice, so nothing said can be used later if, worse comes to worse, you end up in court. And to find a mediator, look for one listed on one of the panel members online, rather than engaging a mate. Use civil and commercial mediation to solve instances such as a supplier running late, or getting to the bottom of why a buyer refuses to pay. Everyone's bracing for legal Armageddon. In mediation, they might agree on a discount, maybe staggered payments, dignity intact. Relationship not torched. That's the key, especially in small industries where, let's face it, everyone talks, and there's significant investment to onboard new suppliers or clients. If integrating mediation into the organisation process sounds complicated, it's not. Just add a single clause to your trading contracts along the lines of, if a dispute arises, we'll try mediation before heading to court. That's it. Some trade bodies, like the Federation of Small Businesses, even offer mediation support and guidance. Costs, timings, all of it. It's kinder and less brutal than the lawyers and the court process. And look, the back-end admin isn't just about staying legal. It will keep things calmer and for the chance of a more positive future for both parties. Store contracts, invoices, correspondence somewhere safe. Cloud's fine, Google Drive, Xero, QuickBooks, whatever works. E-signatures are absolutely fine under UK law too. You want a nice clear record, not a mess of post-its and WhatsApp messages. A quick little workflow here. Send a quote with terms. Get acceptance in writing. Deliver, invoice, and, if anything wobbles, point to the paperwork. Simple, repeatable. Boring, maybe, but when trouble comes, absolutely worth it. All this might sound like overkill, but consider this. The Federation of Small Businesses reckons 1 in 4 small firms run into a legal dispute every year, and the average cost? £17,000. That can wipe out new ventures in one go and stop you in your tracks if the organisation is trying to grow. and nearly always it's unclear paperwork causing the drama. Big picture, having rock-solid paperwork builds credibility. It shows clients and suppliers it's serious, fairness is transparent, and that the relationship rests on a bedrock of respect. And mediation? It communicates the same thing. Let's sort this out together, sensibly, without turning it into a feud. So look at it this way. Good documentation isn't bureaucratic nonsense. It's much more like putting on a seatbelt. You hope you'll never need it, but if you crash, well, you'll be glad it's there. So, as you're prepping your next deal, ask yourself, what if I recorded in writing? And if something goes wrong, am I prepared to talk it through rather than start a fight? Because, after all, running a business is more than doing the job well. It's about keeping your cool when things get bumpy, knowing your paperwork is tight, and using conversation, not confrontation or a courtroom showdown, where the judge will be doing most of the talking and all of the decision-making. So thank you for sharing this time with me. And if you have got a story to share, I invite you now to comment with your own story of a positive example on conflict. Or to discuss a situation, visit www.CYME.co.uk to contact us at CYME for a meeting. So until our next Conflict Stories session, keep the peace. Disclaimer. CYME shares stories and does not give advice, so we encourage all listeners to get legal advice to support running their organisation.